Welcome back to my journey through Morocco. So glad to have you here again. In the previous video I showed you the first part of the trip from Marrakesh to Casablanca and shared my experience along the way. In this episode you will get a glimpse of the Atlantic coast north of Casablanca, how I took part in my very first iftar, and both the fancy and not so fancy parts of this route. I will also take you to Morocco's capital city, where I decided to spend 4 days, and then continue along the road to the town of Kenitra. Ready? Let's go!
Salam!
I left Casablanca and from that point on I was following the coast until Tangier. I had about 350 kilometers ahead of me. People sometimes ask me if I followed any bike path. No, that concept doesn't really exist in Morocco. I was on a bike path for about 10 kilometers, but that was the only time during the entire trip. Other than that, my route along the Atlantic coast was a combination of secondary roads, some nice, some less so, and lovely promenades. From time to time I had to join the main road if there was no other option, so the landscape varied from picturesque to okay to not exciting at all. On the way to Rabat I stopped for a night in Mohammedia, where I met Amin and his mom. Don't forget, that was the very first day of Ramadan. I was invited to join iftar, the evening meal that Muslims eat just after sunset to break the fast. In moments like that, I felt very grateful to be in Morocco during Ramadan and to have a chance to experience how this special time is celebrated. Bonjour.
Bonjour madame.
Je vous passe un vélo?
La Golf par ici.
Ah, d'accord. Je peux passer?
Oui, oui.
Merci beaucoup. Shukran. One of the things that struck me along the way was the amount of new apartment buildings being constructed along the coast. Although Morocco is one of the most developed countries in Africa, there is still so much poverty. So I kept asking myself, where are all those potential residents coming from? And is there really so much demand? Because most of the buildings were either unfinished or not yet inhabited. It felt like going through ghost towns. Luckily, there were moments when those endless copy-paste buildings didn't block the view of the coast. All in all, it was a pretty cool route. Also, the weather was great, and I was lucky enough to have a tailwind. Yay! Most of the year it blows from the north, so from the opposite direction, and is usually quite strong.
تالي بقلبي منساك شي ما نساك شي تقع في راسي في مرة أنا ما بقيت تغير الوجهة بقيت ما رجعت آي 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 تالي في قلبي آي 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 ما نساك شي بقيت نشوف العيون ديالي آي 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 تالي في قلبي لو ما يخدم قلبي ما يبقى في الراس الأحوال يبقى وصابغة جاني وجرب بيدي مع الأحلام المغاربة بغيت نجيبك مع الأحلام آي 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 نتالي في قلبي آي 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 ما نساك شي بقيت نشوف العيون ديالي آي آي آي.
One of the highlights was cycling through the Harhura forest just before Rabat. And because I arrived in the city quite late, everyone was already gone for a Maghrib prayer, the one that starts just after sunset. Wow, cycling on those deserted roads of a big city was another unique experience that I had, thanks to traveling during Ramadan. I still had about 10 kilometers to reach my destination. I didn't hurry at all. I just soaked up the calm, quiet atmosphere and observed how Moroccans were slowly preparing for iftar.
لا مشكلة. لا والغازية العربية.
I liked Rabat from first sight, and because I felt like having a longer break, I decided to stay 4 nights there instead of 2. It turned out to be a pretty chilled place, especially if you consider that it's a capital city. Surely the local cats could confirm that statement. Just look at how relaxed and sociable they are. During those 4 days, I was visiting some lovely parks and gardens, as well as the promenade, cycling around town and doing whatever this is. Speaking of cycling through Rabat, I actually found it really enjoyable and much safer than in Marrakesh or Casablanca. Of course, there were a few more intense moments, but it was relatively easy to find calm, secondary roads, even in the Medina. And there are even bike lanes. One of the highlights was the local market set up every day in the streets of Medina. It was just around the corner, and going there for fresh food became a little daily ritual of mine. Another interesting place I'd like to mention is English bookstore opened by Mohammed in 1985, over 40 years ago. You will find a great variety of books here, including many related to Morocco. The last thing I'd like to mention was my epic accommodation. For very little money, I rented this cute, quirky little house right in the heart of the Medina. It was small, but spread over 3 floors, plus a balcony. Pretty cool! Although getting the bike up and down those insanely narrow stairs, well, that was harder than I expected. In general, I can say that Rabat was a perfect stop to enjoy the city life and charge my batteries for the further journey. Alright, I finally managed to leave Rabat. Staying longer in one place is nice, but it kind of makes you forget that you're actually on a bike trip and not on a regular holiday. My next destination was Kenitra, only about 40 kilometers away. Perfect to remind myself how to pedal again.
Parfait.
Cada, c'est cada,
Oh, vraiment?
cada.
C'est très gentil, merci.
Somewhere on that main road between Rabat and Kenitra, I reached one of the highlights of this trip. Le Jardin Exotique Boucnadel, a beautiful botanical garden full of stunning trees and flowers, with an entrance fee of only €2. I could easily spend half of the day there. I can say that cycling on main roads in Morocco was pretty safe. Honestly, as long as you stay away from the cities, you don't need to worry too much. Just before Kenitra, I turned onto a smaller road and finally found a grocery shop that was open despite Ramadan.
Super.
J'aime bien.
Vous faites le tour du Maroc?
Juste de Marrakech à Tanger.
À Marrakech-Tanger. Super, c'est un bon itinéraire. Si vous partez par les petites routes, c'est plus intéressant.
Ah oui, beaucoup plus intéressant.
Ouais.
C'est pour ça que je vais par là maintenant.
Ah, vous allez par là, pour la première fois. Là, c'est me dire. Ouais, mais je vous en prie. C'est un plaisir.
Oui, je trouve les gens au Maroc très gentils en général.
Oh, ils sont tranquilles, hein, vous savez.
C'est vrai.
Surtout maintenant, avec le ramadan, ils sont capouilles.
I cycled through the Sidi Bougaba Reserve, down the hill on a perfect asphalt road, so as you can imagine, it was a wonderful ride. The weather was also perfect. Not too cold, not too hot, sunny with very few clouds in the sky. I would have enjoyed it even more if I had known that the weather was about to change for good. Not just for a day or two, but for the weeks to come. What didn't change though was my appreciation for Morocco, the new encounters with friendly local animals, and of course, the people. I will tell you more about the third and final stage of this journey in the next episode. شكراً على المشاهدة. نشوفكم لما رجعية. باي!